This week a German newspaper claimed the British vaccine didn't work properly. That was a lie. President Macron of France said the Oxford vaccine was almost ineffective on people over 65. That was a lie. EU President Ursula von der Leyen said the vital Good Friday Agreement would have to be scrapped to protect European citizens. That was a lie. I could go on at length, but you get the point. We can no longer trust a word that comes out of any EU representative's mouth. Perhaps we never could, but there was at least a veneer of decency and esprit de corps. Not anymore. In what is perhaps the darkest stain on the EU's soul to date, the whole self-serving sham has been laid bare. For 4.5 years and interminable Brexit negotiations, we put up with European Union voices lecturing us on morality. They said we would use market tricks to rig exports after Brexit. They said we would tear up the Good Friday Agreement, which underpins peace across the Irish Sea. We didn't. We were never going to. But at the first hurdle, the first pinch point, Brussels ruthlessly sought to do both. It's basically a bully, and day after day this week was shown up as such. A lying, self-serving, shameless bully happy to play God and decide which human beings die and which live. This lumbering so-called superstate has been exposed and found wanting by a nation flying solo, and they do not like it. Lord above, do they not like it? But it's all their fault. Their fault for stopping countries securing their own vaccines. Their fault for the politically motivated decision to push a French vaccine over all others, and their fault for simply being too incompetent to see what was coming when it seemed crystal clear to the rest of the entire world. Their fault, and their response has been utterly shaming. Even the most ardent Remainer must be quietly thinking they did not fully appreciate the levels of raw anti-British animosity over in Brussels. I know I didn't. When Michel Barnier is the lone voice of sanity actually fighting Britain's corner, you know we are through the looking glass. This is the man who spent the last half-decade actively trying to limit Britain's future, but even he can see just how deep and corrosive the EU's threats and actions against Britain are. He has called for the EU to step back from all-out vaccine war and said, "I believe that we must face this crisis with responsibility. Certainly not with the spirit of one-upmanship or unhealthy competition. I recommend preserving the spirit of cooperation between us." Here's a sentence I never thought I'd use. Mr. Barnier is exactly right. My fear is it may already be too late. As one British diplomat said, we may not be able to put the genie back in the bottle. Number 10 is already looking at a sort of reverse Berlin airlift. This time with British planes flying directly into Belgium to pick up UK-bound COVID vaccines, which the EU will not allow to leave the bloc via the normal channels. We have not been told whether these aircraft will be military or civilian, but you can see how a thing like that could escalate. Ms von der Leyen has climbed down on the Irish border madness. She had to. Britain was threatening to call in President Biden, who has basically said anyone messing with a Good Friday Agreement will face a US economic backlash. But the EU still intends to go ahead with a wider vaccine export ban, and to pile immorality onto immorality. The UK-bound vaccines bound for the EU won't even be used. The EU's unwritten but very clear policy is that no one gets a vaccine until everyone gets a vaccine, which is why Angela Merkel, who cannily secured vaccine for Germany against the spirit and letter of the EU diktat, is sitting on her stash rather than using it lest she be seen as a bad European. Nope. This genie is going to be hell over hard to get back in the bottle. One unlikely silver lining to this unbridled chaos is this. Irish Premier Michael Martin was by all accounts incandescent when he realised the EU heavyweights had moved to rip up the Good Friday Agreement and establish a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. He hadn't been told, you see. Not even a quick courtesy text. Nada. His second realization may have been we're just a puppet state in the EU, aren't we? The big boys have zero respect for us and have just made that crystal clear. One can only hope his third thought was now about that our exit.